Good morning and welcome to day 2 of the World Para-Alpine Skiing World Cup here in Zagreb. We're up high in Zagreb, to be more precise, with the Zagreb-Sljeme resort, some 20 kilometers from the nation's capital. A beautiful, beautiful setting for further World Cup action. My name's Alan March and I'm here with you for all of the World Cup action. You can join us at Para-Alpine for all of our social media channels. That's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and follow the Snapchat stories as well. Don't forget all of the information available for you on Paralympic.org as well. So as we climb higher into the series and people look to advance their positions in the leaderboards, it's a little bit chilly here today, chillier than it was yesterday. Not as cold as perhaps normal skiing conditions, but certainly a drop down from around about 10 or 11 degrees here in the Zagreb-Sljeme resort yesterday. Only as high as 4 it will get today, a noticeable difference up here at the top. The athletes attacking the Crveni Spust course, some 925 metres above sea level. The drop of the course is 210 metres. There are 57 gates for the athletes to make their way through. That in the background is the TV tower that controls, well, pretty much everything that is digital out here in Zagreb. Stands right above us, and whilst we're some 925 metres above sea level, that stands a little bit further still. So a chance for people to pick up some more much needed World Cup points as the road to PyeongChang gets shorter and shorter. March is in everybody's minds, but right now our minds will turn to the visually impaired competition for the women. Henrietta Farkasova, who has been pretty dominant bar one race where she DNF'd in Tate, will lead the pack of 3 this morning. At the bottom of the mountain there's plenty of people around watching. There you see the mountain itself is not covered in snow. It's a rather pleasant walking area, but we've made some. That dog's lost his bone. The medical team on standby for anything should it be needed as well. So Farkasova, Yang Jae-rim and Melissa Perrine are the 3 ladies taking part in the women's visually impaired classification this morning. Time to take some selfies as we get ourselves ready. If you're watching online, wherever you are in the world, a big hello to you, and to you, sir, as well. Once again, if you want to follow the action through our social media channels, you can get in touch with us. Use the @Para-Alpine handle. Send any messages through. Keep abreast of all of the action. Lots of exclusive content online, interviews with race winners and various other athletes as we go through the course of this World Cup series. And the Croatians very proud to follow the able-bodied World Cup series with the Para-Alpine World Cup as well. The athletes themselves really relishing the chance to race on this course. Just a matter of days after the able-bodied guys had done so. Now Farkasova from Slovakia, dominant yesterday. Along with guide Natalia Subratova. Four medals in Treviso at the World Championships at the beginning of 2017. Multi-gold medal winner at both Paralympic Winter Games and World Championships alike. And, this is Farkasova and Subratova that get us underway this morning. 31 now, heading towards a third Winter Games. Picked up golds in her first two, and I'm sure you'll agree that the form she's showing back end of last year in Tate and already here in this World Cup in Zagreb. Brave man or woman that would bet against Henrietta Farkasova so far. You can see she's wearing the leader's jersey. It denotes the fact that she is indeed in the lead of the slalom standings at the moment. And well, a surprise here in the opening run of day two. A big chance for Melissa Perrine, who it was that capitalised on Farkasova's exit in Tate. Just here, not going round the outside of that red pole enough, catching the inside of the left ski. And a mishap for the dominant Farkasova here in the opening stages. So Youngjae Rim from Korea has the opportunity to pick up points, or more points than she perhaps perceived she would get. Second yesterday, huge opportunity to take the title here on day number two and pick up some more points. Didn't compete in Tate. And Youngjae Rim and Ko Un Sori is the guide. Yang, 28 from Seoul. Fourth place finish in the giant slalom in Sochi. Failed to finish in the slalom event itself, so lots of work to do for skier and guide combined. A visual arts student in Seoul crosses the line. You can hear applause from spectators that have gathered at the bottom. And Youngjae Rim leads the slalom event due to the exit of Farkasova. So Melissa Perrine next up. Yeah, disqualification in yesterday's second run for Melissa Perrine, the 29-year-old. Resides in Mittagong, New South Wales in Australia. Winner of the first slalom event in Tate back in December. Had heartbreak at the Sochi Games after being disqualified for an equipment error with her visor. Actually the first Australian female skier to win a medal at the World Championships, and she got a silver in 2011. She's going to cross the line here in front by nigh on 2 seconds. So Perrine leads in a time of 60.55 from Yang of Korea, 62.35. So the difference just 1.80. The second run will take place a little bit later this afternoon, but it will take place without the dominant Slovakian Henrietta Farkasova. So another good opportunity for someone else to pick up points in the slalom event of this World Cup series. So the women's standing event is next in our schedule. Vavra Varanchikina will be first to go, just 15 years of age. She's Visually-Impaired. Found herself with a disqualification yesterday. So debut season. Visually-Impaired has to go out and set the first time of the morning. And the rest will endeavour to get somewhere near. Following Visually-Impaired, the Ursula Maramon of Spain, who was visibly fuming with her performance as she slipped out of the competition in a second run yesterday, beating the piste with her ski pole. So we'll see how she fares here. Visually-Impaired crosses the line in 59.95. Nice and symmetrical. And the lady with Dodi use of the right-hand pole is away. So this is Maramon, who uses the adapted poles called outriggers. See the bottom of those poles, the mini ski or blade. You see a lot of the mono skiers, sit skiers use these as well. For a single leg skier, extremely useful piece of equipment. Right leg amputee, as you can see, for Maramon. 33 years of age, from Palma de Mallorca. Impairment, cause of an amputation after a motorcycle accident several years ago. Maramon recorded off the course and just drops down more through fatigue than anything, I would imagine, at the bottom. Now, here is the leader. Are we in for a shock in the women's standing event, as we perhaps have had in the VI event? This lady has won every race so far in this World Cup. The stellar performance is needed for someone to catch Marie Bochet at the moment. Brilliant yesterday, as always, and I'm sure she will continue to impress crowds around Europe in this World Cup series. She leads 1.31 the difference. So 15-year-old Visually-Impaired has a lead for only a matter of minutes, and a little wave from a confident Marie Bochet, already chosen to be the flag bearer for France out in PyeongChang. Melania Corradini up next, 30 years of age, from Tassulo. Being watched on by coach Davide Gross. Yeah, only the use of the right arm and right pole for Corradini. Born without the use of her left arm. Silver medal in the Super G in 2010's games. So no stranger to the big occasion, and no stranger to picking up medals as well. She's been competing in the World Championships since back in 2004, so Corradini is always a force to be reckoned with, but not at the top of her game here. 1:11.09. Just emphasises how good the 23-year-old French lady from Chambéry is in Marie Bochet. Mel Pemble next, the young Canadian. Oh, and it's a short visit on day 2. I was about to say she didn't appear in Qatar, and this is very much a young squad of Canadians here in Zagreb, and unfortunately for Mel Pemble, a little slide out as she tries to make this right turn here. She's just come off the preferred track that everyone else has taken so far, and away she goes. So Pemble hits the deck and goes out. That's our second DNF of the morning so far. I'm sure the youngster would have wanted more time out there on the run to show the selectors what she has as a young talent. But Petra Smazova of Slovakia now, second in yesterday's competition. 27-year-old who, again, plenty of experience and medals on the big circuit. This will be her third Paralympic Winter Games should she make it to PyeongChang, and has come away with a bronze from giant slalom and then slalom in Sochi. Ended up dropping down to 5th in the giant slalom event, having won that bronze in Canada. Here, the lady with the pink helmet and the bright green ski pole, battering her way through, but still unable to close that gap on Marie Bochet. So the French still lead from Slovakia. 1:04.59 puts Smazova into third place. In fact, the young 15-year-old Veronchikina still in second place and still the only other person to be inside 60 seconds. So a good performance from the 15-year-old. Neutral para-athlete. Here is another of those neutral athletes. This is Maria Papulova, 35, and 20 years senior to Veronchikina. I'm sure able to impart some of her knowledge and wisdom onto the youngster. Born without a right hand, Maria. I'm sure maybe daughter Diana is watching on as Papulova crosses the line in 1:03.78. So it's Bochet from Veronchikina and Papulova now in third position. Now Frédéric Turgeon. Now Pemble went out fairly early. Frédéric will be looking not to follow that at all. Just 18. From Montreal. Started back in 2002. She says she was born into a family of skiers, so pretty much this is where she wants to be. 1:04.50. Made a debut at the World Cup finals last year. And of course, this time around, the World Cup finals will be held in Canada. So well done to Fred, as she's known to some as short. Elena Krater of Switzerland Is she the lady to close the gap on Marie Bochet? Can she find herself inside 60 seconds? Tate down in 7th position yesterday. In fact, the last 3 to run here came 7th, 8th and 9th respectively. A 1-year-old physical therapist. Massaging her way through the course and just getting a little bit stuck up in that double post. Again, another to be using the outriggers, and single leg skier Tate finishes her second day opening run. Time from Tate 1:12.47. Anastasia Kohorasheva up next. 21-year-old from Moscow, neutral para-athlete. See those athletes represented by the Paralympic flag. Coached by Alexander Nazarov previously. Kohorasheva, 4th place at the Giant Slalom World Cup final last year. Got a 5th at the World Championships in 2015. Her Sochi visit wasn't best. She came 11th overall in the slalom, but here 1:11.64 is how she finishes the quarter. Puff of the cheeks from Anastasia. This is Ilma Kazazic. Kazazic is Bosnia and Herzegovina's first ever female para-alpine skier at a Paralympic Winter Games. I'm sure she'll be aiming for PyeongChang this time around. She was just 19, Sazic, so while she was exceptionally young that first time out in Sochi, the young lady from Sarajevo will be able to call upon that experience. She'll want to go better as well. Didn't start the slalom event, and was a DNF during the giant slalom, so this time around I'm sure getting to the bottom will be her main intention. She's been working on that. It's been noticeable in this World Cup series so far. The runs from Kazazic are not as quick as she would perhaps like them, but she's managed to keep herself on course. And getting across the finish line is the intention this time around, and she does so. Some 20.93 seconds back from Bochet, but each individual has a different goal. And whilst Kazazic is not pushing on the door of podium places just yet in her career, improvements and finishing races are a vital skill, and Kazazic completes the course in 1:19.57, the official time. Bochet, 58.64, has a lead from the youngster Vronchikina. And Maria Papulova in 3rd position. Hugs all around for Kazazic. Of the Korean coaches waiting for their athletes. Already have Yang Jae Rim in the women's VI event. We'll have Huang Mingyu in the men's VI event as well. We've also got a couple of athletes taking part in the men's sitting events too, the Han Sang-min and Lee Chi-won. So just two more ladies to come this morning. They're both in the women's sitting event. This is Claudia Loesch and the pair of them, Loesch and Stephanie Victor, got more experience than you can care to imagine. Absolute wealth of experience, the pair of them. The Austrian is first up though. Loesch, he was excellent over the first couple of days in Tate. Had a couple of struggles with the slalom, but here winning day one and taking the most points she could. Loesch and Stephanie Victor have been friends now for, and rivals of course, but friends and rivals for about 15 years. So plenty of highs and lows, I'm sure, for the pair of them to exchange. The 29-year-old Claudia Loesch comes across the line, 101.97. The lady from Innsbruck. Super G and slalom golds in 2010. Had to settle for 5th in the slalom in Sochi, and that's something I'm sure she'll want to put right now. Here's Stephanie Victor. You'll note the American and Swiss flags. Oh, on the front of her monoski as she gets her outrigger caught right at the bottom of the gate pole. She's not too far away from the gate. I wouldn't be overly surprised if the determination of Stephanie Victor tries to push this. Is a lady who, despite being on her side a couple of moments ago, has shown you the desire to get down this course. Victor climbing, well, it only seems a small distance from here, but when you're trying to pull along that monoski as well, but carrying on. As I was saying, you'll see the two flags on the front of her monoski. She's now representing Switzerland after a wonderfully successful career as an American athlete. And the switch to Switzerland is a homage and a thank you to her husband, who is Swiss. And Marcel Gornan, who's also the coach of the Mexico team as well, is very much coach for Stephanie Victor. And he gave Stephanie her very first coaching lesson many moons ago. And the 48-year-old now, as a thank you to her husband, represents Switzerland. But she's on the deck for the second time again. Not a lady that knows the word give up. And crosses the line in a 1:35.05, a two-time Paralympic Winter Games gold medalist, Stephanie Victor, showing the spirit and determination that any youngsters out there who have an impairment, who think to themselves, I can't do it, well, those two ladies there will tell you that in their long and illustrious careers between them, you can simply get on with it and try. So Victor won't look back perhaps on that performance with the fondest of memories. She actually raced on the 19th of December in Tate, which was the 22nd anniversary of the day she was involved in an accident, stood outside the front of her house and hit by an out-of-control car, and that was 19th of December 1995, so competing last year on exactly the same date, some 22 years afterwards. And who'd have thought on that day in 1995 the history she would then create going forward. Well, moving on to the men's events in just a moment. We'll start, of course, with the men's visually impaired events. There's Victor making their way from the course. Not her best run, I'm sure, but as I said, it's all a learning curve. For the 15 or 48, even into your 50s, like some of our men's standing event athletes. This is Jakub Krakow. Disqualified in the second run yesterday, where we had a few mishaps, to be fair, and it was quite a lot of them on the last gate. One of the guys described it as a right-right as opposed to a normal left-right procedure, and a few of the athletes just sticking to the rhythm of going left and right. And towards the end, the last gate was a little bit trickier. It was, virtually 3 rights towards the end of the run, and it caught a few out, and Jakub Krakow, one of those, disqualified yesterday. Krakow and Branislav Grossman. Not looking like there's too many difficulties this time around, and they'll come up with a clock of 53.26. Grossman and Krakow set the target. Valery Rekoshubov, who eventually was the winner of the VI competition yesterday, he and Yevgeny Geroyev promoted to top spot after the disqualifications. So the 45-year-old getting a victory here on day one. What can he come up with in those bright green shin protectors? Koshubov, a B2 athlete. Wow, oh, and sliding out, yesterday's winner. As with yesterday's women's winner, he's out. Koshubov just coming unstuck just after the midway section. And that'll be costly for him. And Ivan Frantsev, who was another that was taking up the podium places. He finished in second yesterday. He's currently the leader of the slalom events for the men's VI. A useful finish for him yesterday in the points total stakes. Now with Koshubov gone, Frantsev attacks Krakow's time. He's slightly behind at the split. Again, it's your first time watching VI skiing. The guides themselves have microphones to the skiers, and they communicate with the athletes. All the skiers do a practice, or at least take a look at the course prior to the run. That's where the guide and the VI skier will work on a plan, but once you're going down the course, it's all about the guide setting a pathway and being able to follow, and a little wobbly over the line is Frantsev, but it's, well, not his cleanest run. There's a little smile, as much as a grimace at the bottom. Just fighting against gravity towards the end, but stayed on his feet, did Frantsev. 26-year-old, comes in, but he is behind our leader Krakow. Now, Jeroen Morgenfurt, who came third after those disqualifications yesterday, first time to finish on the podium. I'm sure that delighted the 52-year-old and his wife Susan and son Ralph. He's a man that only recently took up the sport, way back in 2015. Diagnosed with multiple sclerosis back in 1993. It was only in 2005 that he was diagnosed with a visual impairment. And here he is 12 years later, competing on the World Cup circuit. Not just competing, he's competing hard as well. 4:89 behind Krakow. But after yesterday's podium placement, the youngster, shall we say, has the bit between his teeth. Also suffers with impaired range of motion as well, so it makes it more impressive from Jeroen Morgenfurt. He and guide Christoph Kleiner will have to watch on. This is Maciej Krezel and Anna Ogazinska of Poland. And Maciej is out here. He was a disqualification in the second run yesterday, and now he's found himself failing to finish in his first run on day two, and well, you can see that it upsets both the athlete and the guy, Anna. And Maciej will feel that the same and just bump on that right turn, finding some air and unable to cut that back. Now you can hear audibly the voice of Maria Zatovikova, who is the guide for Slovakia's Marek Kubacka. Kubacka is one of our two B1 athletes. That means they have the lowest visual acuity in the field. And you can see the speed of the guide, Maria, much slower than perhaps you've noticed with some of the other athletes. And this is a steep course, and she has to work hard at keeping Marek's speed where it needs to be. Now the clocks are manipulated to show a factored time for all of the VI athletes. In the simplest of terms, always Marek was close there. He mowed down the post rather than going around it. He's getting very close to some of them. What that means is that if you were to have a normal stopwatch, it wouldn't run to exactly the same time as what's on our screen. The clock has a calculation within it that takes into consideration each athlete's impairment. That's right across the board as well, not just unique to VI athletes. And that gives us the time that levels the playing field. And Marek Kubacka is having to work really hard here. He's got a little wide. You can hear all of the instructions from Maria through that helmet mic, and he's going to come through the last gate, and this is good. Kubacka 103.52. He takes a little tumble at the end of the run, but it's Marichka. Not sure what she has on the back of her backpack there. I'm hoping that's maybe a speaker rather than a headset for Marek. I'll check that out next time I get the opportunity. But yeah, certainly potentially that was a loudspeaker on the back, which is why you can perhaps hear Maria more so than most. And some coaches and guides tell me that some guides talk more than others. Miroslav Hreos flying through the gates in the early stages here. Got to keep the speed going in the less steep sections, this being one of those right here, but certainly Miroslav going for it here in this first run. The 31-year-old, another that found himself guilty of a disqualification yesterday, and he's going to struggle to be inside the top positions here. He's got to go around this post. He's struggling to do so. Well, he's got himself back on the course, and we'll have to wait and see whether Miroslav Hreos appears again in the second run. But he's got himself through the final few gates, and he'll cross the line. And, well, a disappointment in the first run yesterday. A disappointment here for the two-time Winter Paralympian. Medalled in both. The former super combined world champion. He's just struggled here in Zagreb. Now this is Sean Pianta. Sean's guide is Jeremy O'Sullivan. He's been with him since 2015, so relatively new. Oh, and yet Pianta knew. I was just about to say he may well have straddled the gate there. By that I mean that a leg either side, and Pianta slams the ground in disappointment. It was interesting, he went about two more gates, and then all of a sudden it dawned on him that he'd done so. And Pianta, the 28-year-old, is gone. Now Hwang Mingyu. Mentioned there were three more Koreans to come in the field, one being Hwang Mingyu in the VI category. Hwang's guide is Yu Jia-hyung. Yesterday's start sheets had the guide down as the female guide, and it transpired was a little admin error, but today this is Yu Jae-hyung, who's guiding the 21-year-old down. His aim is to win gold. Doesn't just want to compete at the home games. He intends to stand at the top of the podium in PyeongChang. From the Gyeonggi province, where he skis for their team. And across the line he comes in 1:02.89. He'll take a wee tumble at the end of his run. A little nod to say I'm all right after that. But Korean registers his time, completes his run. Well, at the moment, Bruno Morgenfurt is in the top three positions again. Still stands as Krakow, Frantsev and Morgenfurt. Hwang's run was good enough for fourth position. Now, this is Damir Mizrak, who was delighted with his first run yesterday. And then, as he said yesterday, it just all went wrong in the second. Openly admits he's guilty of overthinking sometimes. So he was still thinking about how good his first run was. He was doing his second. His guide is Luca De Belgiak, who is, quite frankly, one of the nicest guys on the tour. And he also, like his athletes, is delighted to be taking part in a home competition on such a great course. And, well, Mizrak some 12 seconds back, but again, there's another one of those that will tell you that he falls into the category of personal betterment rather than medal chaser. Balach, who is 35. From Tate in Hungary originally. Began skiing back in 1995. Oh, he's took a slip, but he hasn't missed the gate as Balach, and guide Bent Boxy has got him back on the straight and narrow. And again, just saying a little bit earlier for Marek Kubacka that the steepness of this course really is something that's going to cause more havoc potentially for those athletes with the lower visual acuity, because once they get up a run of speed, it's so difficult to give somebody with very little or none in sense of vision the instructions. You can see that, you know, Benz's head constantly behind him. Zolt has to just rely on every single instruction that comes from that little speaker on the back. Balach well outside of the competitive time of Jakub Krakos, but will be aiming to complete this run. He's just 3 more to come. Here's the penultimate gate. He's going to come inside these 2 blue poles, and he will do and cross the line. And Balach comes in 1:10.99. Breathing heavy after working exceptionally hard down the course. So, men's standing event to come. This was, well, an extremely exciting event in yesterday's program. Martin Wirtz came out as the winner yesterday, but he really had to work for it. Thomas Walsh of the United States ending up finishing in 4th position after leading the way in the first run. Chance for Wirtz to give everybody else something to chase down. Doesn't want any accidents, that's a fact. And Wirtz pushing on. Crossing the line in 54.48. So yesterday's event winner will be smiling with that. 54 is a good time. Now, Alexei Bulgaev, who pushed hard yesterday to come in 3rd position. 20-year-old. From Krasnoyarsk, in Russia. Two golds in Sochi. Two silvers and a bronze he took away from that competition as well, and he is flying here, 52.98. Well, he was guilty of a sloppy first run, was Bugayev yesterday. Dominant in the second run, but he left himself too much work to do. Now Mitchell Gawley showed his fighting spirit that you would expect from a national team captain, as he's been named for PyeongChang. He climbed back up a little way to make sure he got through one of the gates yesterday, and Gawley is throwing everything at this first run, maybe a little too much, got himself straight back up, pretty much bounced off his side, and Gawley, he'll have lost some time, he'll have lost some pace, that's a no-brainer, but Mitchell Gawley will fight to the very end here. '26-year-old crossing the line in 56.59, considering he spent some time on the deck. He could be a little bit happy with that, but there was a grimace and a growl from Mitchell Gawley. Thomas Grocha ended up in 12th position yesterday. 24-year-old from Klagenfurt in Austria. Bugayev's time is exceptionally quick, it really is. A real challenge for the rest to chase. Roca doing just that. Bugayev from Wirtz from Gawley so far. Plenty of talented standing skiers to come still, but Roca finds himself 3.79 behind. That is a hefty time from Bugayev, it really is. Thomas Walsh, oh! Well, he's still on here, he knows that. He knows he hasn't missed the gate if he can get back to this this red one. And that's exactly what he wants to do. He wants to make sure that he's in the mix for these World Cup points. So more of the spirit and determination that we saw from the likes of Mitchell Gawley yesterday. Here from Thomas Walsh. 4th yesterday. After such a good first run, he'll have been, well, I'll say mildly disappointed, I'm sure, with the outcome. Here, he'll be annoyed he's left the run, but got himself back in. He was a bit light through that corner, wasn't he? And it just meant that he kept on running. And dips in 18.89 seconds behind. I'm sure with a decent second run he'll pick up places from those around him, but not what Thomas Walsh would have wanted at all. Santeri Kiveri of Finland. Uh, 17-year-old. He's for Saima Ski in Lapinranta, where he's from. Competes at the World Championships and the World Cup Finals last season. And he's going to get himself across the line. 54.93. That's a good run from Kiveri. It takes him into third position, just behind Martin Wirtz. But can anybody get close to Alexei Bugayev? Martin France is next to take on that challenge. Martin without the ability to use either pole, left or right, 33-year-old from Habanovo. Into the final section now, but he'll be some way behind the 52.98 required. More likely to be the 58-second mark. He's actually quicker than that, 57.43, 4.45 seconds back. Little shake of the head from France and a wave to the crowd as well. I'm sure he and Roman Petlik, his national coach, will chat their way through that run. This is Theo Riemer of Switzerland. 21-year-old Theo. Oh, you see the right ski and the right foot aerial as they came out of that right-hand turn. And Theo, he's gone. Just here, just leaves the snow, and then it repeats itself. Finding some air at the wrong time. Theo Riemer. You sometimes hit those bumps. There's nothing you can do. Bringing a little light through the corners. And unable to correct himself was Theo Riemer and Gordon Brossin of France. He's next up to try and tackle this time of Bugayev's so far. 24-year-old from Annecy. Spends most of his summer months in Grenoble. A student when he's not on the slopes. Only took up competitive para skiing back in 2012, but after competing at the World Championships last year in Treviso, he'll have the spirit and the want to achieve more. And that's not bad. It's only some 5 seconds back from what is a exceptionally good time from Alexei Bugayev. Puts Brossin in 7th position at the moment. So Bugayev, Wirtz and Kiveri. This is James Whitley of Great Britain. Already named in the Paralympic GB team. And Whitley gets his green light to go. 8th yesterday. We'll be looking, I'm sure, for another top 10 finish. The national coaches at Paralympics GB will have a plan for James Whitley. 20-year-old from Eastbourne. Actually the grandson of a former Northern Ireland Prime Minister is James Whitley. born without either hand. So he uses a protective covering on both arms to manoeuvre his way through the gates. 56-61 for the grandson of James Chichester Clark. For those of you that did history. Jonty O'Callaghan now from Australia, 14th yesterday's event. Another fairly young athlete, just 20, originally born in London, England. So moving out as a youngster to Australia with his family. Competes for the Mount Buller Race Club over in Oz. Takes his inspiration from Aussie cricketer Sir Don Bradman. But the less an Englishman talks about Australian cricket, the better. Callaghan batting his way through the course, some 7 seconds back. That's a little bump at the end of the course for him, 59.98. And O'Callaghan finishes his first run of day 2 here in Zagreb. Now, Alexander Alyabayev will be one of those that certainly will feel like he can push Alexei Bugayev, not only here today, but throughout the course of this World Cup campaign. He is indeed the leader over the slalom events so far from his exploits in Tate and here as well yesterday, finishing in 5th position eventually. Oh, a little slide through that section, but Alyabayev able to continue and keep that pace up through the flatter section as he comes into the drop down towards the finish line. He's outside of Alyabayev of Bugayev's time, but 2.45 puts him in 4th position ahead of Mitchell Gawley. So more decent points for Alyabayev, but Bugayev's time really is stunning, 52.98. James Stanton up next. Jamie disqualified in the second run of competition yesterday. From Rochester Hills in Michigan originally. And we're talking about James Stanton and his dream job, which he starts in July of 2018, working on Wall Street. That's what he studied finance for, and he's studying the course very closely here as he nearly comes to a disastrous end. Good run, 2.55 behind. There's a little smile there, and well, a little wayward with 4 gates to go. If he can eradicate that from his second run, he could really be in the mix for a top 5 or 6 placing, but Stanton settles for 5th at the moment, and off goes Thomas Peel, who will finish his run around the outside. And he's took himself off to the corner to have a think about what happened. So Thomas Peel doesn't last long on day 2. And you'll see here, comes into this and just leaves the ground. That's far more air than any of the skiers really want through that section, at least. Arthur Barchet up next, second yesterday. "17-year-old world champion last year, his debut World Championships, and he came away with 2 golds and a silver. Didn't look at his best in Tate, another. Losing their standing as they come through that bumpy section towards this finish. And, well, Balche, if not for that, would have been a lot closer. Just 0.94 the difference. So Balche taking the rocky road, and it cost him time-wise. He manages to stay on his skis and come across the line at a decent time. Now here's a young man who's batting on despite injury. He's got a hip injury on his right side, but he's going through the pain in that one. His early split times have been pretty good. You see again, he was only 2.3 seconds behind. That's actually a little slower than he's been going. He was actually 5th and 6th respectively in his split times in yesterday's competition. He's desperate for a top 10 result somewhere along the line. He was down in 17th yesterday, and the effects of the hip injury and the dreaded winter cold that nigh on everybody has. Says he was finding himself a little fatigued in the bottom half of the runs, but well, he picks up a place from his split, 6.58 behind Bulgaev. Jasper Barkan of the Belgian athlete just will find himself in and around the top 10. That'll make him 12th position. Alcamp with work to do in his second run. This is Robin Kusch of Switzerland, 13th place finisher yesterday. 2 and a bit back on Bulgaev in the opening section of the course. Nephew of the great Alpine skier Didier. So just 19. Plenty of time to learn. A avid Manchester United fan as well. Off the slopes. Didier will be looking on for Robin's results, I'm sure. His time 58.79 puts him in 12th position. Now Michael Ruge. (35 years of age), the other end of the spectrum to Kusch. Rides in Plaselb in Switzerland. Somebody that took up skiing in 1991. An avid motocross and motorcycle fan as well. Crossing the line in 58.51, so just in front of Robin. Just behind Jordan Brossin of France. Julien Ernst now. Big slide out to the right side a moment ago. The moment you carve those skis in too much, you instantly lose some pace, and balance for Ernst is a real problem here. He's navigated that tricky spell. Through the slightly flatter section in towards the finish. Drop he comes. Yesterday coming home in 11th in total. So just the steep drop down towards the finish. And across the line in 101.11. behind Trinity O'Callaghan of Australia. This is Davide Bendotti. One of those that choosing to use the outrigger instead of the more traditional ski pole. And a few of the one-leg skiers will choose to do that, just get that little bit of extra support they need from the mini blade at the bottom of the outrigger pole. Have to be careful when placing their arms around the gates, not to get the pole too caught up. It's something you see with the arm and the pole in mono skiing a little bit more. Bendotti's time is 60.16. I'm 7 seconds back on our leader Bugayev. It's enough to put Bendotti in 16th position for now. Alexei Makushin, who was disqualified in the first run yesterday. 19-year-old in his debut World Cup series. Makushin will try and burst towards the finish drop in just a moment. This is the flatter section now. Starts his descent towards the finish line. This is the part where you need to get as much speed going as you possibly can in towards the finish, but there is a couple of tricky sections, and Makushin is going to finish this time around 61.24. Hilmar Orvarsson should be next up for Iceland. Some guys at the bottom waiting on. This is Orvarsson with number 50, Jack Peters. For Great Britain will be the final skier to go. Orvarsson loses his ski, loses his footing, and well, he's on the slide, down and out of the competition here on day number 2. He crashed down on day 1 in the first run. He's emulated that. Well, reattaching the ski that got away, and in a fairly lengthy old slide did Hilmar Orvarsson. So this is Jack Peters. Didn't see Jack in action yesterday, but he's certainly here with us this morning. See how he fares, and a slide from Orvarsson a couple of moments ago. This is 24-year-old Peters. He's in London, diagnosed with bone cancer in his right lower leg at the age of 13. Chose to have his leg amputated. Age 20. Oh, he's just lost the footing on the left side this time around, and Peters is making his way up. I'm just wondering if he's thinking about sliding in between this red post. I think he is. We'll have a look at the fall maybe a bit later on, but this is Peter's now back in action. Has the ambition of competing in PyeongChang. There are still a few places that might be available for selection for British skiers that haven't made it onto the team so far. Great Britain have announced their team. Paralympics GB squad is quite well known. At the moment, people still vying for places. So, shake of the head from Jack. He indeed finishes the standing event. So nobody able to catch Alexei Bugayev, who was fairly early out in the competition, was only the second runner after his third place finish yesterday, has set the challenge for everyone else here on day 2 in Zagreb. Look back at some of the action so far, and then it's Stephanie Victor working through the course. Some of the athletes making their way back up. So men's sitting event to come. We'll start off with Italian René Di Silvestro, and we'll finish with Sam Tate, who, a bit like Jack Peters, didn't compete yesterday. You see Jack still managing a smile as he talks to James Whitley. Jamie Stanton looking on. Stanton finding himself in the 6th place position after run 1. Delighted with that. He walks off towards the chairlift. A few running repairs being made. The device you can see there just turning the pole, digging the snow out. So leader Bugayev just securing his skis together before he thinks about making it back up to the top of the run. Busy venue at the weekends and during holiday season here in Zagreb. The Visually-Impaired resort, if you're thinking about maybe coming along. Very popular indeed. And creating snow for those with a thirst for skiing. But, even out of the Winter Series, it's a popular walking destination for many. So as you can see, we've a small delay to proceedings here as a few alterations are made to the course after the men's standing event. The men's sitting will get us back underway in just a couple of moments. Davide Bendotti looking on. For those of you unable to stick around for the last part of this broadcast, although why you wouldn't want to watch it, I'm not sure. 2:45 we'll be with you for the second part of day 2, the final day here in Zagreb, before we all move off to Slovenia, Kranjska Gora. Starts the day after tomorrow. So we're just taking a look back at some of the trials and tribulations that some have had throughout the course of this second day. That's Jack Peters taking a tumble not too long ago, choosing to fight his way back up the mountain and go through the gate in the right order, which meant he could carry on his run and get to the bottom. There's Icelandic athlete Hilmar Orvarsson, who took the long slide down the right-hand side of the course. As I mentioned at the beginning of the programme, slightly cooler than yesterday. Up and around the 10 degrees mark. During yesterday's competition, bright blue skies and wonderful sunshine. It's been anything but here on day 2. Very cloudy up here in the Bear Mountain. There aren't any bears here now. Course set out by Eric de Gruber. It's been one that's been tricky enough to catch a fair few out, it has to be said. That vertical drop of 210 metres, when you stand at the bottom looking up past the finish line, you get a real sense of how steep that finish is. You can see the clouds and the mist rolling in. I can't even see my hotel anymore.
Ready? Go!
You see some of the hard-working guys out on the course, getting us in a position where we can carry on, and that's exactly what we will do with our sitting athletes. This is Rene Del Silvestro of Italy. Silvestro a DNF in the second run yesterday. He'll want better than that this time around. Just 21. Oh, and it's not going to be a better result. The Silvestro trundles off to the side. And the man from San Vito di Cadore, he's out of the competition. I only took up skiing with the with his club a couple of years ago, but he's found himself out of competition here. Johan Tapley is next. And a 36-year-old from Morzine. He's faster through the first section than Di Silvestro, but it's getting to the bottom that is the key. Alpine. The skiers using what is known as the sit ski or the mono ski. You'll certainly notice the different change of the helmets worn, the safety equipment used by a sit skier, protecting their entire face. You notice a lot of the standing or athletes or the VI athletes will use the more conventional ski helmets. This is Han Sang-min of Korea. 38-year-old from Seoul. Plenty of experience. Competed back in 2002's games. Oh, real visit to the sky for Han just there. Caught one of the bumps on the course and was real light through that section. See the suspension that's needed at the bottom of those mono skis. Whilst it's not a smooth ride at all, it's made smoother by the technology advances within the sit ski themselves. Just a little side slide towards the final gate post for Han Sang-min, and he registers a time 57.38, 2.5 back from Tapley. There, just doing well to correct it as well. It's all right being thrown into the air, but sticking the landing is another thing. Well, Tapley crashed out in his second run yesterday, so he's reached the same part. As for Han Sang-min, controlled both his runs to get a finish, came in 8th position in the end. Just a few corrections to the course, maybe course team worried regarding safety after that bump for Han Sang-min. Just delaying the start for Josh Elliott. Josh went out in his first run yesterday. So the 36-year-old from San Diego. I'm sure he'll be trying to distance that from his mind. Just run himself through the course. See the scrapers being used. Some of our male standing athletes making their way back up. Yeah. The team have got a job to make it safe as well. So whilst it's imperative that a tricky course is set, they do need to think about the safety of the athletes as well. So a couple of the guys at the bottom maybe watching back already some of their footage. And we get 2:45, the start of our second run. So whether you're making your way up the mountain or whether you're making your way home, don't forget to tune in a little bit later on. And it looks like we're still being held here with Josh Elliott. Again, don't forget to follow us through all of our social media channels for exclusive content from the IPC team at Alpine for Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Follow on Snapchat as well.
Okay. 55. Okay. Here we go, buddy. Ready? Charge it. Go.
It's tricky to get up as well as down. This is Josh Elliott, a veteran in this Marine. This impairment was one he gained by stepping on an IED device. And both his legs amputated just above the knee. He also lost 3 fingers on the left hand as well. For Marine, making his way down the course. He's competed at the last 2 World Championships. A couple of 6th place finishes as well back in Tarvisio, one of those being in the slalom. So he'll be looking to come out of this World Cup with some form heading into PyeongChang should he be selected.
Okay, 56.
American team announced on February the 20th.
Go.
From what I can tell, he's coming in at a 102.25. Puff of the cheeks, emphasising that that was tough out there on the course. And Igor Sikorsky is next. Maybe a surprise winner to some. Yesterday, certainly beat the hometown favourite Dino Sokolovic. The 27 here, just trying to find the same sort of form and speed that he showed yesterday. Great second run to take the title. He was an avid snowboarder before his accident back in 2007. And, Sikorsky chasing down Tapley's 54.95. It's going to be tight. He'll get there though. 53.71. So, Sikorsky takes a big tumble at the end of his run, and hopefully he's okay after that. It's signalling for some assistance, and I'm sure he'll get that at the end of the run. So Sikorsky taking a bump after his run is finished. And talking of runs being finished, Sokolovic's might be over if he can get back between the gates. No, it's disappointment for Dino Sokolovic. So as yesterday's winner crashes afterwards, yesterday's second place and leader of the slalom event crashes during. So lots of drama. There's Sikorsky being helped out of the netting in the finish area.
Go.
There's some real drama towards the end of our opening run of day number 2. Mark Soya, Australia, up next. 10th place finish for him yesterday. 39-year-old from Melbourne. Just passing an on-looking Sokolovic. Soya, 13th at the World Championships in Tarvisio. Competed at the 2015 World Championships as well. failed to finish in either of his events there. So, diagnosed with leukemia at just 3 years of age. He was actually the flag bearer at the World Championships in 2015. Soya comes across the line, 101.91, 8.20 seconds back. Tyler Walker. Big opportunity for the American to pick up some more points in the slalom event. Sokolovic already out. Yet to know the outcome of Sikorsky's crash at the bottom. Well, Walker's still on the course here. He's going to have to work hard to pick up the speed. Just getting his arm caught low down on the gate pole, and it just dragged him back. Oh, he's just paused again. But again, he is still within the run, so Walker will continue. And this has really thrown open the sitting event here. Bright yellow and orange helmet of Tyler Walker. Now it's about salvaging a time that keeps him in contention, but this run is proving very slippy and very bumpy for the male mono skiers. And through the final gate he comes, 61.11. Not what Tyler Walker would have wanted at all. He's going to put himself in 4th position. It'll now just come down to how many can actually get a finish. This is Jesper Pedersen, dominant in the opening 2 days in Qatar. Has had to work a bit harder over the slalom events. Pedersen, bib number 60. You see here the Norwegian, just 18. Huge smile on his face in the opening days in Qatar. A couple of runs where he found out that doesn't always go to plan, but it's fairly smooth here over the first half of the course. 53.71. His actual aim is to try and win medals at the 2022 Paralympic Winter Games, but if he keeps his form going, he's got every chance of doing that a little bit earlier should he get to PyeongChang. It's 56.46 will put him into 3rd position here. This is Murat Pelli. Pelli is a member of the largest Swiss team that's here in Zagreb. .35 is now is Murat. Took up para skiing in 2009. But, only really recently starting to compete at international level. Took part in the World Cup final last year. DNF'd in the slalom event. He was able to finish his giant slalom run out that time. Only in 16th position yesterday. He failed to finish in the first race. So, Pelli really working hard as he comes over the brow of the hill into the final section. Well, he's going to finish his first run. There's a scream from Pelli as he crosses the line. And, hard to tell whether he was delighted or annoyed as he slammed his outrigger down onto the floor. This is Lee Chi-won, second of the Korean skiers. Lee would be delighted to be somewhere around his compatriot Han Sang-min. Oh no, he's not going to be though. Just flipping out from underneath him. And Lee Chi-won off the course. And will need a little assistance. You just see here, it just comes underneath him. He loses the bottom right edge of that single ski. And you see a couple of coaches coming across. It was really innocuous as well. He slowed fairly decently to get round that next corner, and the gate has caused him some issues. So let's hope that Lee Chi-won is okay. The guys that have made it to the bottom watching on. Tyler Walker, one of those. A couple of disaster moments for him during his run. Igor Sikorsky leads the way. You get to see how he is after taking a tumble right at the end and ending up in the double net at the bottom of the run. But these are scenes that you don't want to particularly have at your event. It's Lee Chi-won of Korea staying on the ground. Just take a look back at some of the action from earlier. That was Han Sang-min. This is Dino Sokolovic. A little bit earlier on, this is Josh Elliott. This is Sokolovic. He just slid out. Walker had his problems. He had some airtime in his journey. And this is Lee, just here. He's done some damage to his right side. Hard to tell whether that's his arm or his upper body, but he's going to need some assistance getting down from the mountain. Medical staff and support staff are out there. Well, I'm not a doctor, and I'm certainly not going to try and diagnose him from here on the screen. But Lee Chi-won is clearly in need of attention, so that will bring us a delay here as he is looked after, quite rightly, first and foremost before the competition continues. Can't carry on whilst he's so near to the course. The guys at the bottom just chatting their way through their run. So don't forget, 2:45 is the scheduled start time for this afternoon's racing. For all the information, you can go to paralympic.org for more than just para-alpine sport. Of course, you can look at many of the para-sports that feature on the website. All the results for the World Cup so far can be found at paralympic.org/alpine skiing. And of course, at Para-Alpine is what you need to follow for the likes of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course Snapchat as well. So Ichiwon continues to receive the best attention possible. Move to Kranjska next up on this World Cup series. Situated in the upper Sava Valley of the Julian Alps. From Kranjska we move to Switzerland between the 15th and 18th of January to Resonnes, small Swiss resort. It's situated in the heart of the Valais region. It's actually 13 kilometres away from Sion. From there, the World Cup finishes its January section in France, in Tain. And it's a French resort. It's the host of the Paralympic Winter Games 1992. So steeped in tradition and history. And of course, the final edition of the World Cup finals itself in Kimberley in Canada. High up in the Rocky Mountains. A final chance for skiers to show what they've got before everybody heads to PyeongChang and the 2018 Paralympic Winter Games. So just looking back at some of the results from some of our earlier events, the women's standing, a very familiar name at the top of those standings is Marie Bochet. She's been victorious in every event so far in this World Cup. As I mentioned during commentary, has already been named as the flag bearer for the opening ceremony by the French team. Just two athletes taking part in the sitting event, Claudia Loesch and the great Stephanie Victor, battling it out. Victor's run was one interrupted on several occasions, but maintained her course line to a degree and managed to complete her run. Men's visually impaired event is going to be an interesting finish. Krakow, Francev, Morgenfurt. Yesterday's winner going out in the first run. The same with the women's VI as well. Henrietta Vakasova going out on the first run means that we'll definitely have a different winner of both events. So Valery Kozhubov, his first run ended in disaster as well. No such issues for Alexei Bugayev. Brilliant in his first run.
We touch boobs, No? Why not?
Well, you know,
You don't
I
have
like
so,
colours, I don't
you
like
don't
lights
have
so
so big
Me?
gloves.
No, you're me.
You just.
Well,
I don't know.
Murat Pelli
Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
Hi, Grandma.
and Johan Tapley are just discussing. And, Johan saying hello to everybody, taking the opportunity. Jesper Pedersen
Thank you, guys.
there, and Mark Soya as well. So they in high spirits. Korean team in the background, just waiting for maybe reports on the condition of Lee Chi-won.
Come here. That's a really good man.
Cool. Watching on.
Wat is er hier?
J'essaie de le voler à bouche.
Ja?
Avec ta bouche, qui est ça?
20 Minuten, fünfte Platz jetzt. Zufrieden. Aber was passiert noch? Er ist gestürzt. Ah, wirklich? Ah, c'est tombé par contre.
So if you're just joining us, we've interrupted coverage of the men's sitting slalom event here on day 2 in Zagreb. An injury to Lee Chi-won after a fall to bib number 62. The Korean is being tended to out on the course. Still have 7 more athletes left to come.
Where is Thibaut? Ah.
Is that a English?
How you say?
How do you say the bed, the sled?
It is. We call it the blood wagon. Blood wagon. The blood wagon.
Ah.
What else do you get?
Schnell fahren.
Depends.
Ich habe ein bisschen weil ich bin schon ein bisschen da oben. Schnell, dann ich habe wirklich ein großes Zug gemacht. Ich habe gedacht, ich habe schon gedacht, so zumachen, nicht so ja, wo wirklich verbindet.
Do you have coaches near my coaches?
Der Doppel, der habe perfekt genommen, gut genommen. Wirklich sehr,
Ah, everybody. Okay.
aber nach dem Banana, ich bin nicht schlecht.
Do you have contact with the staff of the
So again, still 7 more to come, but well, when they eventually get back up and running, they'll be chasing down times that have been set before them, and the best of the runs so far belong to Johan Tapley. In second, with Igor Sakowski in first position. Jesper Pedersen, Han Sang-min, Murat Pelli, Tyler Walker, Mark Soya and Josh Elliott are all those that have completed the course. So, still being tended to is Lee.
Die Französen fragen, ob die einen Coach gibt es in den...
Mais mon hobby now, ben,
Der muss Taberle sprechen.
Putain, pour la ramener pitié que je comprends stop.
Philipp? Kannst du Radio Philipp geben? Moment.
37-year-old being treated side of the course. crashed out of both the slalom and giant slalom events in Sochi. A 9th place finish at the World Championships back in 2013. His impairment as a result of polio, which he contracted when he was just 7. Actually played quite a high level of wheelchair tennis and basketball. He won medals in wheelchair basketball. He was a player in the Korean team at the Asian Paralympic Games in 3 different editions of that, 99, 2002 and 2006. So he's a tough competitor. He's Lee Chi-won.
What a fuck!
Shit happened. See you yesterday. Yeah, got me off. Well, that's about
Not easy.
Yeah.
You feel good?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm not good, so...
I just forgot to see your son
Yeah?
and your wife. I know me. I know everything. I know everything.
You know everything?
I know everything. I shared with your wife yesterday.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
There's
See you.
Dino Sokolovic, who won the last event in Kutai, the slalom event there, but had to settle for 2nd yesterday, and then today has crashed out early doors. So he won't get a chance to pick up any more slalom points. You can see some alterations being made once again, just a little tidy up of the run. You're seeing a few of the hard-working guys up and down the course. Pedersen and Soya chatting through. Take another look at what's given us the delay. It wasn't the biggest of crashes, but I get the feeling he's injured his right side. You see here, just loses a little control, then just goes from underneath him. I do wonder if he's landed awkwardly on his right arm, right shoulder. His left arm moves immediately, and there you go. That's I seem to have called that right shoulder. I wonder if he's as he's gone down, he's landed awkwardly. You can see the heavy strapping on the upper right arm, and he's in serious pain. You see one of the British coaching staff was one of the first on the scene, and it is indeed his right shoulder, as any of you that can lip sync like I can, you can see from the description as well. Something like a rotator cuff in that area. Again, of course, it's imperative that not only his safety and well-being is cared for first, but of course he's pretty near to the course, so it's not like they can just carry on. If one of the next competitors was to come unstuck in a similar position to where he is, and there could be more issues that way. So don't turn off just yet. You're still with us here at the Para-Alpine World Cup in Zagreb. We're on day 2. We're in run number 1, and we still have 7 more athletes to come in the men's sitting slalom event. An injury here to Korea's Lee Chi-won is why we have a pause in our event currently.
A nesmrdí, a nesmrdí.
And a reminder that this afternoon's schedule is 2:45 for the start of the women's visually impaired event, second run. Whether that will be put back slightly due to this delay is yet to be confirmed. There's a potential for that, I'm sure. You can take a good look at the outriggers that the guys use here on their mono skis. That's the poles that many would use. The outriggers have a special cable that flips the mini ski up and down. That's the attachment just below the handle. You can just see that Jesper Pedersen has his left hand on his handle. You see the cord just below that. He would pull that, and that would put the ski at the bottom of the outrigger onto the ground. They use those as an assist to turn. Discussing with a few of the athletes, they don't necessarily put too much of their weight onto them. They're there as an assist and as a guide. We'll take a look back in a couple of moments at the run that's currently leading the standings. This is Igor Sikorsky, and it's perhaps not the run itself that's the most interesting. It's the end of the run for Sikorsky, who seems to hit a patch of ice that's built up over the last couple of days that perhaps hasn't been run into by anybody, and he may have caused himself some sort of injury. I've not seen him at the bottom of the mountain since then. He had a difficult moment there, just slowed himself down into the flatter section. And Sikorsky, having won yesterday, will have attacked this course with a bit between his teeth and thought to himself, you know, if I can do it on day 1, why not on day 2? And with Sokolovic gone now, and Pedersen down in third, he really does have that opportunity as he comes through the sponsors area there, across the line, just here. That may have done him a mischief. So Sikorsky not without problem in his run. And a few more coaches waiting on. So again, still 7 more athletes to come in our first run of day 2 of the slalom events here in Zagreb, the 2018 World Para-Alpine Skiing World Cup. Some people taking their lunch on board. Those lucky people. A right shoulder injury for Korea's Lee Chi-won is the cause of the delay. The standings that we have at the moment, you see Josh Elliott down at the bottom, 102.25. Mark Soya and Tyler Walker down that end as well. Good run from Igor Sikorsky though. 53.71, won yesterday's event. And Tapley in behind, 54.95. And Norway's Jesper Pedersen, 56.46. Soya and Han Sang-min waiting on. I'm sure Han Sang-min is concerned for his compatriot and teammate, of course. As everybody looks up from the finish line, waiting to see Lee Chi-won assisted back down the course. And there he is being cautiously brought down. The medical team have worked on him whilst on the mountain. You can see the right arm is the cause of his concern. Just being slowly moved off the course down to the bottom, where I'm sure he'll be sent away to a medical facility here in Zagreb. If it wasn't for that cluster of cloud at the bottom left of your screen a moment ago, you would have been able to see Zagreb, but that's the conditions we're in. Once again, at Para-Alpine is the handle you need for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and all the rest of our social media channels. Keep up to date with exclusive footage and interviews from our race days all the way through the World Cup Series. And for more information on parasport in general, www.paralympic.org is the place you need to be. People out there discussing the options of the restart. I'm sure there'll be plenty of conversations as to whether we do indeed start at 2:45 this afternoon for the second run as well. This has been a fairly lengthy delay. And there you can see that Lee Chi-won is indeed off the course and going down to the bottom. There's a road just round to the right hand side from there. Frédéric Francois is next on course, or at least he's due to be. The 40-year-old is just behind the boarding to the right side. His coaches have been trying to keep him warm with the delay. If you have stayed with us, thank you very much for hanging around. Competitive sport is not all smiles and laughter after all. We are indeed just about ready to get back into the action. So Francois, snowboarder before his accident back in 2001, gave Alpine skiing a go when he returned in 2002. And, was already competing by 2003, so loves the feel of being out on the mountain, and a lot of the sit skiers tell you that the adrenaline they get from this is the reason they do it. Gives them a sense of freedom and a bounce here for Francois. He's managed to maintain his course run though. So Frédéric Francois stays on track. Can he close down on Sikorsky's leading time? He'll do well to get anywhere near it after that mishap a little earlier on, but 53.71 was what he wanted. 56.63 is how he's finished, which will put him in fourth position in front of Han Sang-min. There's Markus Ratterhofer, the Austrian, already fighting with the course. Seen plenty of shovels and scrapers being used by the course crew, trying to eradicate maybe some of the the major bumps, and that is one there, right there. Well, it nearly caught Frederic Francois out. It has caught Marcus Gratterhofer out. And Gratterhofer finds the aforementioned bump just there. It's been carved in. Everybody making that same turn, and people have just carved a dent into the course, and well, if you're hitting it, you're going to struggle. Simon Vralner next up for Austria. He's already down on the opening split time. And Vralner will be coming to the defending section shortly, but just had a struggle a couple of seconds ago anyway, so Vralner not necessarily picking up the speed that he wants as he heads towards the final drop then. Vralner into the final section of the course. 53.71 was what he wanted, a big side slide there. Really slows himself down. And Vralner just making sure he gets to the bottom of the run, and he will do so in 61.39. It's ahead of Soya, behind Tyler Walker. It should be Mika Vrefler up next. Bib number 66, the yellow protective helmet. And Vrefler need a 23.95 is the split time that was set by Sikorsky in that early part of the course. A little slide from Vrefler there. That's the corner that's been tricky in recent runs, but the 30-year-old Vralner made it through, and now Vrefler is also on course to make it all the way down. 23-year-old. Already been skiing a few years. This is World Cup debut, and Vrefler comes through the line in 101.19. That's just behind Tyler Walker. It's ahead of Simon Vralner. Canada's Alex Cairns up next. Cairns going well. Steady so far. Just 25 years old. Getting some speed through this section. This is the tough right-hander that has caused a little struggle. I wonder if maybe a few repairs have been made to make that a little easier these last few runs. Cairns just fighting to hang on. And very sideways a moment ago, but has got himself back into the swing of things, and he'll clatter through the final few gates. 101.32, so very similar times for our last 3 or 4 athletes. Cairns finishes. Jernej Slivnik or Slovenia. Our next destination, of course, in the World Cup circuit. Kenz's time was enough to put him in 9th position, ahead of Valner. Slivnik just losing his back end of his monoski momentarily. Year-old. Oh, just getting the bottom half of his outrigger caught in one of the gates, but he's survived that little scare as well, so he's had an eventful run, but it does appear with 2 to come that he's going to make it to the bottom. 106.53 for Slivnik. Slovenia leaves Sam Tate as our final competitor of the first session of the day. 26-year-old from Sydney originally. A little light through that gate a couple of moments ago, and he's going to struggle to find his way back. He's just inside. Well, he's just about managed to hang on to the course as Sam Tate. He began paraskiing in 2014. Had a motorcycle accident in 2013, and that's enough for Tate. Just a struggle down the course for him, a little exasperated, and he'll have a think about how he makes that better. Well, that is the end of the men's sitting slalom event here on day number 2. The first run is complete. Igor Sikorsky 53.71. I'll be interested to see how he is after a little collision with the fence at the end of his run, but Tapley and Pedersen in 2nd and 3rd. Frédéric Francois leads the rest of the field. It's been a tough first run for the men's sitting event, a lengthy delay, and we wish Lee Chi-won from Korea all the very best. Join us again. 2:45 we're scheduled to start. It's less than an hour here from Zagreb.